before we arrive, we'd like to briefly tell you about an attractive offer available to you on this evening's flight. You're approved for the card. That's more than enough miles for a round-trip award ticket on American Airlines.
So, usually I like to arrive to the airports like at least 2 hours before because I'm filming, but I did have something here in Baltimore I needed to attend, and it's currently 5:57. My flight's at 7:20, so got an hour and a half to get to the airport and board the plane, which should be plenty of time. So let's head to the airport. And greetings, guys. Right back here at BWI almost 24 hours after landing in from Denver. Tonight, I'll be flying aboard 2 back-to-back American Airlines A321 flights right back to Denver. The first down to Charlotte in first class, the second in main cabin out to DIA. The reason for this trip being Avelo Air's very first flight tomorrow, which I've already posted on this channel when it happened. So these set of videos will fill in the gaps of how I actually got to Burbank and back. This trip almost didn't even happen, as I had an orchestra practice till 5:30 on the day this was shot, and the literal only option to make the early flight tomorrow in California was American's last flight out of BWI tonight down to CLT and the ensuing flight to DEN. Because this was one of the last flights out tonight, the airport here was very empty, which made check-in and security a breeze. Just gonna get some Chick-fil-A, maybe. The line's short. So in case you're wondering, the time is now 7:05 p.m. The flight departs at 7:25, so yeah, I've got about 10 minutes to board this plane down to Charlotte from Concourse C. Luckily, my gate was not far down the jetty though, at C5, so I had just enough time to get a quick glance at my first ride. This A321 is N916 US. Despite the US at the end, it's always flown for American since January of 2015.
How you doing, sir?
Hello.
You right here.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Turns out I arrived to the gate with 5 minutes to spare, which meant the entire plane was already boarded, and I was the last passenger.
Hello, how are you?
Before we take off, I will now show you a comprehensive tour of this first class seat. Instead of the 3-3 layout in economy, up here it's 2-2 with the seats being wider and slightly more comfortable. In one armrest, the tray table can be found easily accessible by lifting this lever below, and on the other armrest is the recline button along with a storage cubby which has a universal power outlet towards the back. It's definitely not extremely large, but can certainly be of use for smaller items. Up on top is a drink tray with a second one available by slightly pushing it in a bit. This is more so for pre-departure beverages, but at the time American still wasn't offering them due to COVID. In front is a certain magazine, which can immediately tell you that this video is old. It's located in a large literature pouch with a tablet holder situated directly underneath. A USB can be found up here as well, and as for down below, that's where the safety card is and a decently sized seat back pocket. Last but not least, legroom is good, but wait until my second flight to see whether first or economy had more. After quickly filming around my seat, it was time to start our trek to Charlotte.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy this short 1 hour and 1 minute flight to Charlotte.
Now that we're firmly on our way to Charlotte, I decided to finally eat the food I got in the terminal, so tray table, open sesame. As you can see, it is extendable, can be folded in half or the full way, and it also has a phone holder built into it. Even though this was a very quick flight and American sometimes doesn't even come through the cabin on our flights, flight attendants did ask first class passengers if they wanted any drinks.
Ginger ale.
Ginger ale, guys?
Yep. Thank you.
No snacks were available on this first flight, but I don't think anybody cared, and certainly not me. And for those that want to see American snack offerings, we did get some on my Denver flight. Wi-Fi was also accessible by clicking AA in-flight in settings, which then takes you to the home page where it shows our flight already in the descent process with 18 minutes left. To get online, it does cost money as per usual, and $15 is pretty steep for such a short flight. You do always have the option to view free TV shows and movies though, which as you can see on this flight was more than enough in the variety of content. American also provides its passengers with free live TV channels, which did eventually come back after being axed for almost 2 years, and the destination weather.
For the card.
After their credit card spiel, flight attendants came through the plane one last time collecting trash and tidying up the cabin for landing into CLT on this gorgeous April evening. If you're a regular viewer of my channel, you'll know I'm a pretty simple person. First class isn't a necessity for me, and I usually don't sit up here unless I get upgraded, which happened today. I do definitely appreciate first class and what comes with it, but on most flights I'm perfectly fine with economy, and really on this flight, it was more for the engine views. Flight 1 of 2 is done. Next up is a ride back across the country to Colorado, this time in main cabin. So we'll see what the difference is compared to first class I just experienced. As usual in Charlotte, my connection was pretty short. Not short enough requiring me to run to my gate, but I do need to already head to Concourse D after quickly grabbing a pretzel. Charlotte Douglas International Airport is one of American's largest hubs, and as far as this airport, they hold a huge monopoly here. The airport definitely is not one of my favorites, but I do enjoy passing through CLT as the food options are pretty good, and the central hub area is always enjoyable to walk in. Concourse D is actually the international terminal here, but domestic flights also use this as well, especially so during the heart of the pandemic when there were no international flights. But because it is an international terminal, there are 2 panes of glass blocking views of aircraft, so not the best look at my second A321 tonight. N572UW, a 2013 built aircraft, this time originally flying for US Airways, and that'll be quite apparent once I step aboard.
Group 2 for 479 Denver, you're also welcome aboard.
Hello, how are you?
You're in the exit row, able to assist in emergency?
Yes. Thanks. I'm just taking a picture. Hello, how are you?
American has quite a few different A321 layouts and multiple hard products in their fleet. This plane is equipped with the former US Airways seats, and I will be back in 23F, possibly the best on the plane, as you'll soon see. As on the first flight, main cabin is laid out 3-3 across, with 156 economy seats in total, with 15 main cabin extra,
just in front of it and the typical 16 first class seats ahead of them. If you do find yourself on a LUS, Legacy US, A321, you'll notice there are no adjustable headrests, something very common now in newer AA interiors. As for the legroom in 23F, well, compared to my previous first class seat, I mean, it's probably quadruple the legroom back here. Only downside to this seat is the fixed armrests with the tray tables inside, which on a light flight like this, I cannot lay down on the 3 seats. So do keep that in mind. The safety card can be found in the small-ish seat back pocket underneath, with the normal tray table located just above it and no PTV above that. As for the rest of the seat, comfiness is very basic and color scheme is also on the same level with a much more duller tone than AA's newer seats. And that just about wraps up the economy seat tour. So, as promised from before, here's a look at American snack offerings on this flight, specifically in economy. We all got a hand sanitizing wipe, a pack of pretzels, and a small water bottle. This combination is the most commonly found service items on American Airlines, unfortunately, no matter the flight duration. But, no matter, I've got myself a delicious warm Auntie Annie's pretzel on this night flight. After a while, and not using the lav on my last flight or at the airport, I decided to finally get up and head back to one of the 4 on board. Well, at least I tried to go back to the rear, but the flight attendants for some reason didn't want me back there, so this is the mid-cabin lav. And as far as they come, it's a very standard airplane lavatory, both in decor and space.
Decent size, but pretty normal.
With the views out the window being non-existent, decided on this flight to just explore American's IFE system a bit. Ended up watching this Harry Styles documentary, finding out yet again the Real ID requirement was pushed back, and watched this particular movie for a little. The rest of the ride was also quite bumpy as we were heading into some weather, so I waited till the last 30 minutes to show one last thing on this economy A321 flight. The American Way magazine, for any geeks out there. Here's AA's fleet list as of April of 2021, along with a diagram of the airport we just flew out of, and finally the American Airlines domestic route map. The cabin lights were kept off for the majority of this flight up until we got close to Denver, when flight attendants prepared the cabin for landing. The gist of this second leg was really a pretty relaxing yet boring 3 hours in the night sky. I did score this exit row seat due to my status with American, which made the flight much better than it could have been,
but with the plane being so empty, probably would have been fine anywhere in economy anyways. With 3 minutes left on the clock, here's our wet landing into Denver International Airport. Alright, so American A321 First Class versus Economy. Which was better today? Well, I would say that's easily economy. But as far as hard and soft product, meaning service and seats, obviously that would probably go to first class in this comparison, especially considering I didn't spend any extra money. Now, I will say American almost forced me to upgrade on my second flight to first class, which would have been an extra $250 and a total waste of money, but luckily I got them to put me back in economy for free at the counters in Baltimore. At the time, due to COVID, AA wasn't offering hardly any extra benefits up in first, so when strictly comparing seat to seat, no question, economy makes more sense. First class is much more than just a wider seat, and while nowadays with normal services returning and jam-packed planes once again, it would make more sense to upgrade, but it certainly didn't for me tonight. I also should mention there were no power outlets on my second flight. However, newer American A321 interiors do have outlets. When comparing first to economy on the A321, there are just so many different options and a wide variety of products, so chances are you'll probably experience something these days which may be worse or maybe better than what I show in this video. In general, I am not the biggest fan of American's A321, and with travel back up in 2022, I will admit first class does look much more enticing than it did a year ago, and that is my honest opinion. Yep, wish me luck. Hope you guys enjoyed this video though and gained some insight into American's first class versus their economy class on the A321. Thanks for watching and catch ya on the next one real soon.